people. Oh my god, I'm having one of those buzzy, fuzzy days. You're probably thinking, what the fuck's a buzzy, fuzzy day, Michelle? I'm going to explain. I'm going to let people get logged in first, though. I'm just going to do my hair while you get logged in. But I won't do that really irritating thing that people do at the beginning of their lives and just sit here going, oh, we'll just wait for people to get logged in, because I know it's really annoying, especially if you're watching on catch up. You're like, get on with it. Hey, Natalia, how you doing? Who else is there? Let me know you're in. When you're in, say hello. I really look forward to these every week. Hey, Anita, I look forward to seeing you all. Yeah, I'm having a fuzzy, buzzy day because I've just had the best day. Mondays I love because it's accountability day in the Women's Wealth Accelerator. Hey Carol, hey Katie. Oh, you are kind, Katie, when I've got no makeup on at all and just threw my hair up quickly because I realised I've got to go on camera. Hey Carol, love you girls. Yes, it's accountability form day in the Women's Wealth Accelerator, and I love it because I'm reading all the wins and even the challenges that the women are having, but the breakthroughs they're having off the back of the challenges, and communicating with everybody on a Monday and listening to all just the really exciting things that are happening in their business. And I just had a call with another amazing woman who's going to be joining us in the Wealth Accelerator soon. And I wanted to share this with you actually. Hey Hannah, hey Emma. I'm going to stop saying hello because I'm getting distracted. But we were talking on this call with this incredible powerhouse of a woman, and I can't wait to work with her. And we talked about kind of where she was at in her journey, and what came up was that she was in the impact zone. And I just want to share this with you quickly. It's not relevant to tonight's trade, but I think it's worth a share. There's two zones I think you can be in as an entrepreneur. I think you start out in the income zone and then you move into the impact zone. When income becomes, miss this day. Oh, we miss you, Natalia, we do. When you move into the impact zone and out of the income zone, something really magical happens. You know, when you start out, it's about the income because money is survival, right? We need money to survive. And, you know, anyone that says money's not important to me, let's take it all away from you and see how you get on, because it is important and it's not a dirty word. But when we start out as an entrepreneur, it's, you know, all about that, because we're in survival and we might be replacing an income from a job, or we might have already left the job and need our business to work, and it can become, you know, kind of fear and frantic. But when we achieve a certain level of success and financial success and personal achievement, business achievement and knowledge, and we become the person that just knows how to make money, we move out of the income zone and we move into the impact zone. And this amazing woman that I've just spoke to is already in that impact zone, and she's had enormous amounts of success already and just wants to create more of an impact. And it was such a buzzy fuzzy session because it was all about how her next level of success is going to impact the world and how it's going to impact the people that she's here to serve. And I just love those sessions. So that's why I'm all buzzy and fuzzy tonight. So what I want to talk to you about tonight, guys, I'm really excited to share this topic with you because it's something that has become almost like a theme to the way I do life and business. And it's about excess. The word excess is what we're going to be covering tonight, and how, if you're an entrepreneur, hey Nancy, your natural tendency to be excessive could be not only hindering your progress in business and finances and maybe even life, but it could also be stealing the joy that you get from your work. And I want you to interact with me tonight because I have theories about entrepreneurs that I love to test. I'm a real geek when it comes to human potential, social behaviour, what does it mean to reach our full potential, why do some people achieve and some people don't. And I spend a lot of time like studying behaviour, and it just fascinates me. And there's a few things in doing that over the last God knows how many years that I've noticed about entrepreneurs. I've noticed in myself, I've noticed in the people that I work with, and even the friends that I've got around me that are in business. And one of the things I've noticed is about our tendency to be excessive in the things that we do. And I'm a firm believer in how you do one thing is how you do everything. So you'll have heard me say over and over again, how you do anything is how you do everything, because who we are And our natural tendencies show up in the way we conduct ourselves, in everything that we do, whether it be in home, in our relationships, in the way we treat things or people, and even in business. Everything's entangled because who we are shows up in everything that we do, right? So the part of us that can be excessive is what I want to address tonight, but I'd love you to interact with me and let me know if you can relate to some of the things that I'm saying, because it helps me test these theories that I have about entrepreneurship and off the back of the research that I've done and just studying the people that I work with and even myself. So, who, first of all, just give me a gauge of who's listening. Let me know in the chat box, if you wouldn't mind, do you class yourself as an entrepreneur, first of all? So yes, I'm an entrepreneur. And how long have you been an entrepreneur? So how long have you been building a business? And I don't mean, it doesn't have to be profitable or hugely successful. Just how long have you been in the world of entrepreneurship, working on yourself as a business owner and working on a business in terms of strategy? Just give me a rough idea in the chat box. And also, are you a full-time entrepreneur or a part-time entrepreneur? Like, are you someone that's like already, it's your full-time gig, you've been able to cut the strings of employment and a wage, and now you're in full profit mode? Let me know in the chat box. Just helps me to understand how you're answering things based on where you are in your journey, and it will help you to understand you as well. So, hey Kerry, good evening. So, excess. I'm not going to read them all out. I'm going to go back and read them afterwards. So thanks for that, Nancy, and anybody else that's going to be interacting with me. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm an excessive person by nature. And this is what I notice as a trait in other entrepreneurs, can be quite addictive in my personality style. Like if I like something, I want it over and over and over again. James is exactly the same. We're both quite entrepreneurial by nature. He's got quite an intense, excessive personality type as well. And when I look back, actually, it's always been there. It's shown up in everything that I've ever done, really, and it's shown up in my career before running my own business as being like, I've always wanted to go hard in any career I've had and get noticed and get promoted, and I'd get my eye on something, I'd get zoned in on a particular achievement, whether that be a job title or promotion or salary, and I'd be like, all in like a fucking bullet train, everyone out my way. And then normally like get quite bored then and be like, because I've kind of gone really hard and probably done what most people would do over 5 years in 5 months, because I'm just excessive and intense by nature, and then gone, I'm fucking bored of this now. It shows up in food. It shows up in the way I run my house and how everything has to have a place, and so it can show up in many, many ways. Most entrepreneurs are the same, and it might show up for you in different ways, but we can easily tip into excessive. What I've noticed through studying entrepreneurship and human behaviour and success in particular over the last few years, oh my God, you're me, is that a lot of people, well, in fact, all people and all things that tip into excess or being excessive end up becoming a negative. Everything. And if you think about this, like honestly, go and test this theory. Like, if we really enjoy a certain food that brings us a lot of pleasure when we eat it, but we eat it every night, it becomes bad. When we had it in moderation and there was balance to it, it served a purpose because it made us happy. And even if it has no nutritional content, it was a treat. So it did us good to just have that. If we're doing it every day, it becomes bad. If we overeat and we're excessive in our eating, we become fat and unhealthy. But equally, if we over-exercise or become excessive in a diet and not eating, and we become underweight, it becomes negative. There's anything you can do, if you do too much of it, it becomes a negative. negative. And I've studied this intensely and look, just as a way of life now, just look for this in my own life. And I live by the rule of not ever tipping into excess. And when I do, problems start. So I'll give you an example. I have quite a love-hate relationship with food. I love it, but I can end up hating myself when I have too much of it. So when I have balance and harmony in my diet, and I don't deprive myself, so I don't go too much, because this is what I can do. I can go too much and like, no, we're not having anything bad, and I go really strict, and I can almost make myself miserable because I don't let myself have a bit of what I fancy. Or I can go the other way and be like, fuck it, you only live once, I'm going to have that, I'm going to have that. And then I start to feel a bit lethargic because I've gone into excess, you know, just having that pudding when I didn't need it, having 3 courses at the restaurant instead of just having one, popping off at the way home and getting ice cream even though I had dessert after dinner, like excess. It goes out of having a bit of what you fancy and into too much. And most, if not all, entrepreneurs can relate to doing things in excess. It's not uncommon for entrepreneurs to have had addictions in the past. We can be quite intense individuals. Let me know if you can relate. I can see some of you are relating already. Do you know what? This can be really great as well, just to know that, oh my God, I'm not on my own. I'm not just a bit weird. Like, this is like a trait of not just a trait of an entrepreneur, but a trait of a highly successful person. You know, this isn't a bad thing, but it's about the self-awareness that comes with it, so that we can channel it. Hey, Amanda. So we can channel it and we can say, okay, I know this about me. How can I use this as almost like a superpower? So when James and I love, and actually Amanda, you're going soon, aren't you, to Southeast Asia? James and I love Southeast Asia, and I wouldn't class myself as religious at all. I identify as being spiritual, but don't really conform to any religion. In fact, I think religion causes a lot of problems, and I know that's a bit of a controversial subject, but you know, that's my opinion. When we go to Southeast Asia, one of the things I do actually really identify with, if I had to identify with a religion, would be the Buddhist religion, because a lot of it is about balance. And actually, when you listen, it's about, you know, balance and moderation, and in some ways that resonates with me, because I can totally see how being excessive in any area of your life is it hinders you. When it comes to business, it's treacherous, because we as entrepreneurs are the people in business, right? And we have these excessive natures, these excessive tendencies. And I've listed 5 ways in which this could be hindering your progress right now as an entrepreneur, how these naturally excessive tendencies could be showing up in your business building activities, in your day-to-day existence, in your strategies, in your ways of doing things that will actually be preventing you from leveling up. So that's what I'm going to share with you tonight. So number 1, excessive working or thinking about working, because it's when our brain's working as well, isn't it? It's not just, we are living in an age of burnout being prolific, but not burnout how we used to know burnout. Hey Catherine, if I haven't said hello to you, I'm really sorry. I'm trying to like not get distracted by the chat box, but also not want to be rude and not say hey. Yeah, burnout's prolific because it's mental burnout. Hey Becky, it's, you know, not just how it used to be where, like, you know, you might be actually physically going out to work and on your feet all day, and mental burnout now is so easy to fall into and not even know that you're there, because we're overstimulated by notifications and technology commanding our attention, and the internet world feeling like the real world, even though it's not really, you know. So we can easily, as entrepreneurs, online entrepreneurs especially, which is obviously what I am and what most of you guys are, fall into an excessive work pattern where we're constantly switched on, where we're constantly a slave to the notification and to the vibration of the phone or to the flash or however yours alerts you. I've turned it all off. All notifications are turned off on my phone, all flashes, all vibrations are off, because it's actually unhealthy for people that are wired like me and you to have that constant reminder that there's something to do. Because if you're anything like me, when you know there's something to do, if you're not doing it, you'll start to get the voice, the guilt. Well, you should be answering that message. What if that's important? What if they think that you're rude? What if they think you're ignoring them? What blah, 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 blah. You know, and before you know it, the film's been on for an hour and you've not watched it because you've been thinking about the phone buzzing. So we can easily burn out and not even recognise burnout. You know, it's different now to, I believe, how it used to be. You know I'm encroaching on burnout when I start to feel frustrated at things that excited me before. Like frustrated at my workload. Frustrated with people, like James gets it in the neck whenever I'm encroaching into burnout. And it can be the smallest thing that wouldn't have even pissed me off, but sends me over the edge when I'm feeling like that. So you feel a little bit unhinged, like I might go, something might come out my mouth. It's not abnormal for something to come out my mouth like, are you fucking kidding me? You've not done that yet. And then I know, like, oh God. It's a little bit like PMT, but constant. And then you start thinking, am I losing it? Like, what's wrong with me? Why do I just feel so fucking frustrated? And that's when I know I've tipped the balance. I've gone into excess work or excess thinking, because that's the other thing, isn't it? If we're always switched on up here, even if we're disciplined with our downtime and we're putting the phone down and we're stepping away, but we're still sat there going over the next, you know, game plan for the next level of success or what we need to do tomorrow, or and we're not fully present in what we should be doing in our downtime, then we're still in excess, because we're in excess thinking, and that's just as bad as doing sometimes. In fact, it's worse because it's not productive. So you might be thinking, well, okay, that's great, I hear you, but how do I stop? Because I'd say this one's the one that I've struggled with the most, and I'm still in recovery. I'm not the finished article on this at all, but there are a few hacks that I found that really help me. And one of those is being just as disciplined in my downtime as I am in my go time, and seeing it as important as the other. You know, I would never not show up to a meeting. I would never break a commitment with a client. I would never break a commitment with a potential client that I've got a call with, or not show up and do a live when I've said I will, or whatever it is. So I'm super disciplined in my go time, and I've learned to just transfer that into my downtime and see it as just as important, because I know that if I don't, then I'm not productive in my go time. So I have to flight mode when I've finished. I have to allocate times to something, and no matter how many notifications are going off, it only comes in the time that I've allocated, because otherwise I could just spend my whole day on notifications and answering messages and actually get fuck all else done. So discipline, that's the big thing, but also what do you do to clear your mind? And you might not resonate with meditation. It took me a really long time to embrace meditation, because if I'm honest, whenever I tried, it's like the chatter just got louder. I'd start listening to a meditation, it'd say, quiet your mind, let go of all thoughts, and they'd just like come with full force, and I'd be like, oh shit, this meditation's bad for me. But meditation really only works if you stick with it. What I found is if I just kept with it as a discipline and did it, even though I didn't feel like it was helping me, over time, I actually was able to find a way of relaxing through it and quieten the mind a little bit. I find massages help, walks help, getting out in nature, going and doing something. You know, sometimes just vegging out in front of the telly doesn't help, because you can be in front of the telly but your mind's somewhere else. So what can you do that actually occupies the mind a little bit more? So that's number one. Number two, excessive self-care. This is like the opposite of number one, and you might be in a different place to me right now. Like, you might be struggling with the excessive need for self-care, because this has become a bit of a buzz phrase in the world of entrepreneurship. You know, take time for you, self-love, self-care, and working on ourselves, and all the things that I've just said about discipline and the meditation and the going out in nature and all of that stuff. You can become excessive in that as well, and it can end up becoming a form of procrastination. And you know you better than I know you. You know which one you're more likely to fall into excess with. Some people have a hard time winding down, and some people have a hard time winding up. Either way, it's excess. And either way, it's bad for you when the balance gets tipped. What's great is that's that common place in the middle where you get the downtime you need to recharge your batteries and be able to think clearly and stay clear of burnout. The go time you need to get shit done and be really, really productive and achieve and progress. That's that middle, that sweet spot. But if you're somebody that finds yourself in too much self-care and downtime because you know you're avoiding some of the action taken because maybe it frightens you, maybe it's outside of your comfort zone, maybe you don't like it, whatever it might be, you can easily slip into excess in that way as well. Number 3 is excessive perfectionism. And this is probably something that every single one of you, give me some hearts if you can relate to perfectionism. Wanting everything to be perfect before you do something. Wanting to be the best public speaker before you do a live. Wanting to have your program just perfect with you never missing a beat when you're talking on an audio, or the perfect backdrop, or your perfect image before you have your pictures done, or so everything, the need for perfectionism stalls and stunts your progress constantly because you're not striving for progress. Everything's got to be perfect. And most of us are like, so you can see the hearts going off, most of us are like that if we're really honest with ourselves. Because entrepreneurs tend to be high achievers by nature. We tend to like things done a certain way. We have high standards for ourselves and everything that we do. So we can run the risk of going, if it's not perfect, it's not going out in the world because it's got my name attached to it, and that would be terrible if someone thought that it was any less than perfect. We have to let go of that. We have to let go of that. Hey, Florentina. Because if we wait to be perfect, we don't progress, because the reality is you never will be. We'll always be ridiculously flawed because we're human, and the level of perfection that you can achieve now will be different to the level of perfection you can achieve in 6 months, because in 6 months you will be better and you will be better equipped to deliver better work because you're an entrepreneur and you're constantly working on yourself and you're never done learning. So if you're always waiting to be perfect, you never get stuff done and you end up missing deadlines. So that need for perfectionism turns you into something far less than perfect than if you were just striving for progress, because missing deadlines isn't perfect, not launching on time isn't perfect, missing your goals isn't perfect, but the need for perfectionism sabotages how you could have been ridiculously perfect with the flaws, if that makes sense. Number 4, excessive change. Most entrepreneurs are driven by variety. We get bored with the mundane, we get bored with routine, we get bored when things stay the same. It's why we're entrepreneurs, it's why we never probably held down jobs for really long periods of time, because we were like, ugh, bored of it now, moving on to the next thing. So that need for variety, it's one of the basic human needs that every human on the planet has, the need for variety and also the need for consistency, because we're ridiculously contradictory in our needs as well. But entrepreneurs tend to be so variety driven by nature, and I say tend to be because this isn't 100% of people, but most tend to be so variety driven that we crave new ways of doing things, new working, new stimulation, new excitement in our lives constantly. How that can be bad for business is that we start changing things that are working or on the verge of working. We change them too soon because we become impatient. And because we've done this now every day for 3 months and I'm just fucking bored of it now and I want to do something different. You know, like say you've got the best script for a sales call that just works, but you get sick of saying it like that and you want to just mix it up a little bit, so you start saying it different. But it's working, so you can't do that. Or I call it procrastinate as well, because it's like, oh, I really want to do that part. So it might be like visibility. That's normally the biggest thing that comes up, or marketing. When marketing gets tough and visibility becomes uncomfortable, I'll change my website because that'll be fun. I'll change all my branding colours. I'll change the look and feel of my brand. I'll change my messaging. I'll work on my messaging because that will help with my marketing. It won't. That's procrastinate, because the one thing that will help with marketing is nailing marketing. And you can change your message and your brand and all these things as much as you want to, but until you just go after and the nailing the thing that's like really causing you pain right now, nothing's going to change and you'll just keep going around in circles. So it can present in procrastinate. It can also present in changing things too soon or too often, so you never really see them out to their full potential. Like launching an offer or a service in your business, and only 3 months later after launching and having a few clients through the door, start thinking about the next thing and the next product or service you want to launch. When the first service could have been $1 million business in itself, but because you get bored easy, you only take it to 10 grand, 20 grand, 6 figures at max, because you're on to the next thing, rather than seeing it through and then not launching your second product until you've maxed out the potential of your first. Those things hinder our success as entrepreneurs, and we have to be really mindful of them and really careful of them. I know this about me. So when I feel the urge to start a new business, launch a new service, or change the way of working because I'm getting like itchy feet and needing some excitement and variety in my life, I channel it into travel. I love to travel, I love to see the world. So when I start feeling a little bit like, oh, need to mix things up a little bit, I'll go somewhere. And it doesn't mean that I won't work. Like we fly out to Arizona on Friday for a few weeks, because I started to get like that. I was like, oh, I'm just feeling like everything's the same. I'm getting up and I'm doing the same morning routine, and I'm going on the same walk every morning, and my diary looks the same, and the place that I'm working looks the same, and I'm just bored of it now, and it's beautiful, and I'm so grateful, don't get me wrong. How blessed am I getting to, go and sit by the pool and work in the sun every day? I am not moaning at all. I know how blessed I am, and I thank my lucky stars in my gratitude every morning that I am. But I also know that for me to be the best version of me and the highest vibration and the most productive and effective, I need variety, which is why I'm jetting off on Friday to just work from Arizona, because I love Arizona. It's a change of scenery, change of people, change of place that I'll be doing my gratitude, change of gym, just different, and I thrive on that difference. So I've channeled it so I don't start new businesses every 5 minutes. So think about how you can channel it, and there's 2 ways. One is, how can you channel your variety? That need for variety that's going to try and get you to change things too quick. What can you do instead rather than messing with your business? And the procrastinate in you that's going to get you to just change things that are comfortable rather than working on the things that are uncomfortable. It's just about recognising it and going, I just haven't mastered this yet, so I'm starting to want to do something else instead because it's painful to master it. And number 5, excessive worry and excessive panic. Who else is going to hold the hands up with me? You know that emoji that's like that? Find it now. Find is it meant to be like a high 10 emoji? I think it is. I was never sure whether it's like a high 10 or whether it's like a we're not worthy. But you know which emoji I mean, right? The one that's like that. Find it and give me some of these. If you can be excessive in your worry and panic when it comes to things not working out in your business, not reaching the level of success that you wanted, never making it, not hitting your next goal, not hitting the money you need to hit on time before you go fucking bankrupt and lose your house, and all these other crazy shit that goes on in our heads. Give me some of these if you excessive worry and excessive panic. There you are, my people. Me too. And again, this is something that comes up over and over and over. The what if game. The almost obsessive compulsive need to overanalyze the shit out of everything that could go wrong, so that we can try and safeguard ourselves from it actually going wrong. And it's mental when you think about it, because the reality is stuff will go wrong. If you're a business owner, stuff will go wrong. If you're a business owner, there will be challenges. There will be strategies that don't work out. There will be goals that you don't hit. There may even, on your journey to success, before you've nailed being the CEO that you were born to be, there may even be financial crises that you have to come through. There will be difficult situations to handle, confrontation, conflict, dickheads that you will encounter. along the way. There will be all of that stuff because we live in the real world and we're building real businesses. And when you're a CEO, you encounter real challenges, and that's just the truth. So I'm not going to sit here and say there is no need to worry, because you will never encounter any challenges if you, I don't know, meditate better or manifest better. Because let's be honest, that's BS. If you're going to be a CEO of a high-level business, you are going to encounter challenges. But we are more resourceful than we think in the face of adversity. And I have never encountered one challenge that I've ever got through better because I've worried the arse off it. Like, never. I've worried myself stupid over things in the past that have never ever happened. I have worried about going bankrupt so much in the beginning of my journey as a business owner, especially when you're like leaving a job for the first time and got incomes to replace and bills to pay. I've worried myself stupid about being homeless and having to go to my mum and ask for money, or James's mum and ask for money, and hold my head in shame when everyone realises that I was wrong and I was never going to make it, and I've just gone and failed publicly in front of everybody. My brain has followed that rabbit on all of those scenarios. The Facebook Lives that I'm going to do where I fluff it up and everyone laughs at me and logs off thinking, what a dickhead is she? All of the stuff that runs through our heads. I guarantee if there's a worry, I've worried about it. I think we just do. You know, as humans and as entrepreneurs, I think that's the way we are wired. And I've come to embrace it. I've got a bit of a technique that might make me sound like a crazy lady, but I'm going to share it with you because if it just helps one person, then it's worth looking crazy. But here's what I know for sure. Even when things are really well, are really great, like better than they could ever be, there will always be that part that's built into our survival instinct that alerts us to potential danger. And this is built in to the brain, the ego part of ourself, not the enlightened spiritual part of our soul, part of ourself. It's built into the ego part of ourself, and it serves us because you know what? It's the same voice that's going to stop you from getting run over and stepping out in front of busy traffic. It's the same voice that's going to tell you not to touch the cooker or the hob because it's hot. It's the same voice than back when we lived in caves and we were hunting for our food and could potentially be eaten by a lion that kept us safe. It's the survival, it's the fight or flight voice in our mind, and it's ever present. And it pops up at the wildest of times. It popped up for me when I was broke as an entrepreneur, and it was telling me, you could be homeless, everyone could laugh at you, you could end up with egg on your face, everyone was going to point at you and say, I told you so. It popped up when I replaced my income and I was no longer in threat of being homeless, that said, but what if it goes backwards and you lose everything? It popped up when I did my first 100 grand year and it said, but what if you never go any further and you can't? It popped up when I bought my dream home in cash this year and I went to look at it for the first time with the keys and it was mine. And I drove up and it went, what if it burns down? Did you get the house insurance? I call it Gerard. I'm not schizophrenic and I don't hear voices. Let's get that straight. But I've named this voice because we all hear it. I'm told that when you're a mum, and I haven't had the privilege of that yet, but I'm told that when you're a mum and you look into the cot or the Moses basket and you see your child sleeping and you're like, I'm just the luckiest mum alive, you then go, shit, is it breathing? Because it's the same fucking voice. Now, I call it Gerard because I had this name from a book that I read that described this voice perfectly, and it's called Mad Girl. It's a novel by someone called Bryony. I forget her last name. It's a yellow cover, Mad Girl, blue writing, yellow cover, blue text. And she's got quite severe OCD and anxiety. So her voice is probably way worse than all of ours put together on this call, unless you've been someone that suffers with those conditions as well. And she puts it into this book in such a comical way. And she calls him Gerard, and he utters some absurd things in her ear. But I think we've all got our own Gerard. You know, I do it in my relationship. James is the love of my life, and I feel so lucky every day to have him. And sometimes I was chatting to Ellie, a friend and a business partner, about this the other day, and put my head on his chest and think, oh, I love him so much, and then I'll think, oh, what if he dies? What if his heart stops beating here as my head's on it? I can hear it, what if it stops? Mental. And it comes up at varying, I think it's worse sometimes than others. For me, menstruation and PMT can make it worse, and I think it rears its ugly head for us at all different times. I wanted to shine a light on it tonight and go, me too. Because I think in moments where you do start really panicking and believe in Gerard, you can really convince yourself that, what he's telling you is a real possibility and it's going to happen, and it can make you feel sick with anxiety and worry, especially in the early days of becoming an entrepreneur. And I just wanted you to know me too. Like, I have it, he lives with me too in my head. I've managed to get to a place where I can laugh and joke about it and listen to what he's got to say sometimes and go, fucking hell mate, that was grim, cheers. Like, I didn't need that right now, and I can laugh it off. And I can also recognise that Gerard's got my best interests at heart. He's just trying to keep me safe. He just goes about it in a really fucked up way sometimes, and I'd rather he didn't. But, we both want the same thing. We want the best. And I've learnt to not go to war with him and go, shut up, you shouldn't be thinking that. Oh my God, what about if you start manifesting that? Oh shit, thoughts become things. I'm attracting it now because I've thought about it. Because that's a vicious, exhausting cycle. Rather than just going, wow, Gerard, you're on form today, my love. And moving on. I've found that is a much better way of dealing with it. And you will very often, if you ever have the privilege of visiting me in my home, see me walking around sometimes going, wow, Gerard, that was intense. No, thank you, not today. I probably do sound like a crazy person. I don't say it out loud when I'm in public because then, there's a fine line. But I've just found having that relationship with that worry and that anxiety and recognising that it exists in all of us, it's healthy, it's probably at its worst when you're just starting out, but it never really goes away, it's part of being human. So, that's me tonight on excess. And I think from what you've all said, we can all just relate, can't we, and go, do you know what? Might be at different stages in our journey, but we're all entrepreneurs and we're more alike than different. And we probably all have problems with being excessive sometimes. And just being able to say, okay, is that excessive or is that more balanced in nature, will help as a way of life to just rein in the need to overdo things. And that's me for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for interacting. I will go back and look at every single comment and communicate with you personally. So if you're watching on catch up, play along as well, because I read everything. Thank you for joining me tonight. Lots of love.